Kazakhstan established and developed relationships with more than 140 countries worldwide. The country is a member of over 60 international organizations. Kazakhstan is an open and friendly partner, the initiator of the various integration processes in the world community, always ready to create the conditions for global dialogue. The 8th Mining Industry Forum, MINEX Central Asia 2017, was held in Astana. This year, within 3 days, about 300 executives and specialists from 128 companies from Kazakhstan and abroad took part in the forum. More than 40% of them are directors and members of the boards of companies. In total, about 600 people visited the forum. The geography of participants and visitors of the significant event in the world of the mining and metallurgical complex is wide. The nearest neighbors are Russia, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, as well as Great Britain, Germany, Canada, Australia, New Zealand and other far abroad countries. Our company is very interested in participating in such events that are quite well known in the market and are very focused on a particular industry. Our company has a sufficiently large number of specialists who work in this industry. We are interested to hear, on the one hand, what market participants care about, on the other hand, tell about our experience and share some knowledge that we have accumulated at the international level for many, many years of the company's existence. We see great potential in the application of data processing and machine learning to optimize all kinds of processes and industry activities, and we have a good experience in metallurgy in Russia, and there are expectations that we will be able to apply our experience and our technologies to other industries, in particular in mining and metallurgical industry. Therefore, for us, the presence on this forum is quite interesting. We talked with representatives of the ministry and we will continue to communicate with companies, some of which are already our customers, some of them we want to become our customers. Accordingly, this is one of the events that gives us this opportunity. 100 speakers in 11 thematic sessions of the forum raised the most acute issues in the mining sector, the prospects for the development of the mining market, the uranium industry, the profitability of mining enterprises, innovative technologies for production and exploration issues. A very interesting analysis was presented by experts on trends in various sectors of this sector on a global scale for 2016. What is the gold market over the past year? What to expect from the price? And is it good or bad for gold mining companies? A graph showing that the curve has gone down for many years. Unfortunately, in 2016, the course of this curve has changed. This curve shows the price of gold, that is, 16 years after long break was the year when gold in the price began to stay and not decline. Investment demand has returned, one of the reasons why there is interest in the price of gold. According to the largest independent appraisal company, American Appraisal, other reasons for the growth in the price in the gold are the stable purchase of precious metal by central banks of many countries, the US dollar rate, government securities yields, as well as the risks of unlikely events like Brexit and the results of the last presidential election in the US. Approximation to the mark of $13,000 per ounce, according to experts of American Appraisal, gives a good reason to expect a rise in the price of precious metal to $13,300 by the end of the year. A promising forecast allows making certain conclusions for the gold mining industry of the world, and Kazakhstan in particular. There was never a better time for investing in gold. If you look now at the cost curve, you will see that now there are no companies that manage to suffer losses when producing gold. Yes, naturally, there are bad and even very bad projects that never worth running, never worth building. But if you do everything less correctly, if you have a well-organized connection, if you are in the right jurisdiction, if you do not have some depressing taxation and so on, you need to do something very, very wrong to get a loss in gold. Meanwhile, excellent prospects are outlined not only for companies investing their money in projects, but for the entire mining sector, including for the launch of geological exploration of new territories.
I think the general consensus on a global basis is that we are in the next cycle, the upturn, the next boom cycle. One of the big issues is we're not quite sure what shape that is going to take. We've seen recently that metal prices have kicked up, particularly gold. It's just a little bit of political dispute, for instance, between North Korea and America. The gold price is now $1,300. So I think the longer term trend is for metal prices to increase, and that will drive exploration and mining cycle.
In the forecasts of macroeconomics, the so-called Chinese factor cannot be omitted. The welfare of the country, with a population of about 1.4 billion people, is growing, which makes the citizens of the Middle Kingdom able to invest their capital.
I mean, the Chinese growth at the moment of around 6–6.5% is still a phenomenal growth rate. And if you consider there are, 2 billion Chinese, 6% year-on-year growth on that, that's a lot of refrigerators and cars that need making, and that requires metal. So the Chinese factor is huge, and also the Chinese political project for the future. They are doing a lot of big infrastructure projects, which again require raw materials, metals and industrial minerals. So that will be a major driving force for the world for many years to come.
If gold rises in price, then for uranium in 2017 the trend is negative. This occurs against the background of glut of the market. Therefore, the world leader in uranium mining, Kazakhstan's company Kazatomprom, decided to reduce the extraction of mineral raw materials by 10%, which is more than 2,000 tons from the planned production of 2017. However, this reduction will not affect the world leadership of Kazatomprom in the industry. And yet, such flexibility on the part of the national company is an excellent example of a reaction to the behavior of the market.
Для компаний горнорудного сектора очень важен, конечно, спрос, на их продукцию. То есть здесь большинство компаний.
For companies in the mining sector, the demand for their products is very important. Most of the companies work here and produce something respectively. If some price environment changes very much, then no matter how effective or inefficient you are, the market dictates how successful you are. If we carry out some kind of strategic analysis from the very beginning and predict what will be the demand, what the supply will be, what prices will be, and all of this in the complex will be modulated, then one can in principle understand whether there is a success in the company or not. And for this, you can and need to do some scenario analysis and understand what can be there for the owner of the company that it can generate to create the right cost.
Сценарных анализов и понять, что может быть для собственника вот эта компания, что она может прогенерировать, то есть создать какую стоимость.
Today, the world leader in uranium mining in Kazakhstan is implementing its projects jointly with the leading uranium mining companies of Japan, China, Russia, Canada and France, participating in 11 joint ventures. To maintain high status and optimize the process, the national company introduces high-tech solutions. As part of my report, I proposed several innovative things. For example, we offer a mobile complex for the processing and extraction of natural uranium. It can be used both for year-round use and for a certain period of time, for example, in summer. This complex has attracted foreign partners of the order of 5 or 6 countries for its acquisition.
Порядка 5–6 стран у нас имеют к нам выдвигают предложения по его приобретению.
Innovative solutions for mining companies will undoubtedly affect the success of the enterprise, but the impact of factors that depend on macroeconomic and political processes in the country and the world cannot be underestimated. Perhaps the current economic situation is in its state because of the limit of the scope of the investment itself, that there are so many projects that we see. They are good projects in terms of mineral content and so on, but they cannot find the money for its development, simply because there is a problem with the presence of the investors themselves in the CIS market. It is partly due to the general economic situation, to the fact that the regulation in some CIS countries, respectively, they are insufficiently mature, and thus there are greater risks in these countries, so that in 3 to 5 years, when the project is in its most vital phase, the licensing conditions can change, and so forth. Accordingly, these are problems, they interfere with the entire process. The speakers' reports of thematic sessions of the forum showed that last year the situation in the sector began to level off, which will undoubtedly affect the implementation of new projects. Here we look at the fundamental factors, and it is clear that the state of Kazakhstan's economy is one of them. And naturally, if the economy grows, opportunities are created for further long-term growth. This in itself increases the investment attractiveness for the bank, as for an investor who is basically excluding the natural resources sector, the largest foreign investor in the territory of the Republic of Kazakhstan. The forum also raised a very pressing issue, including for Kazakhstan, the closure and reclamation of mines.
Наша задача является в том, чтобы минимизировать воздействие.
Our task is to minimize the impact on the environment after the mining company is closed. To perform reclamation during the extraction and recovery of a useful component, this is the main difference between what is being done internationally today, what is happening in the CIS countries, and Kazakhstan in particular.
Скажем так, в масштабе то, что происходит в странах СНГ и в Казахстане в частности.
The cooperation of Kazakhstan with the consulting company SRK Consulting is not limited only to environmental services. General Director of the company, Nikolai Yenshin, together with the Executive Director of the Kazakh TV Association, Saule Orazayeva, became representatives on the Kryrsko Committee, which Kazakhstan joined last year. The standards of public reporting developed by the organization Kryrsko on the results of exploration, mineral resources and mineral reserves are adopted in all world capital markets. Within the framework of Kazakh TV membership in the International Committee, the conformity of the Code of Public Report adopted by the Kazakhstan Party on the results of exploration, mineral resources and mineral reserves provides new opportunities for the development of the sector.
Kazakhstan
needs to improve the conditions for investors in order to attract investments in the mining sector. Since international reporting standards are one of the important elements of investor confidence in the information provided about resources and reserves. Accordingly, the transition to these international standards, it will help attract investors and miners to the mining sector. Meanwhile, the standards have been developed, but their implementation in the country's legislative base remains to be done. Currently, the adoption of the Subsoil Use Code at the discussion stage. And within the framework of the MINEX 2017 forum, a roundtable was held where deputies of the Majlis of the Parliament of the Republic of Kazakhstan, representatives of the relevant ministry, subsoil users themselves, representatives of consulting and legal companies discussed and expressed their wishes for amendments to the code being developed. Another important issue before the adoption of the document on subsoil use puzzled the Kazakh side: the simplification of the method of concluding contracts for the Australian model. First addressed, first received. There are sites that have been studied well since Soviet times. Understandably, auctions are held on them, and we plan to follow such practices there. Where there are reserves, there are understandable prospects. But where there's absolutely no investment appeal, there is not even geological information that could attract investors, what is the point of the contest? There it is necessary to provide maximum comfort. People are at risk. The probability of opening an average deposit, 1 to 200 licenses, will end with one success. So I think that for our industry, this will be the opposite for opening a new mineral resource base. The adoption of the code on subsoil use will affect virtually all legislative acts of the Republic. These amendments are related to tax, land and water legislation. In August this year, the document should be submitted to the government, and in September it was submitted for consideration to the Majlis. Now is the key point for continuing reforms. It is for the mining sector that the adoption of a new code on subsoil use is important, and we believe that this step in the long term will develop the investment attractiveness of Kazakhstan mining sector for foreign investments, for investments of local financial institutions and investors.
Для зарубежных инвестиций, для инвестиций местных финансовых институтов и инвесторов.
Other important events that were held for the first time in the framework of MINEX Central Asia 2017 are two competitions: MineVenture Startup Projects Competition for the mining industry and MineTech International Competition of Technological and Design Solutions for the mining industry. The latter was developed jointly by MINEX and Almaty Tech Garden.
Наш фонд Almaty Tech Garden был создан 2 года назад.
Almaty Tech Garden was established 2 years ago, and the main objective of this fund is to ensure financing of innovative projects and their introduction in the industry, in the oil and gas sector, particularly in the oil and gas industry and the mining sector. We recommended the Innovative Cluster Park for Innovative Technologies, and they applied for tasks that the ERG, Eurasian Group, supplied. That is, there were 3 priority areas: waste management, digitalization of production, energy efficiency activities.
По утилизации отходов, по цифровизации производства, по энергоэффективности.
The Kazakhstan company, Reef Centrifugal Technologies, became the winner in the nomination Recycling of Waste, which presented promising ways of processing manganese concentrate dumps, and in the nomination Digital Technologies, the best solution was offered by the British company Intellisense.io at Cambridge University.
So what we do is we use sensors, software and simulation to improve efficiency in mining operations. So what we're going to talk about today is provide you with case studies of some of those applications, on how it is deployed and what kind of benefit, economic value that it has created.
In the course of the MineVenture competition, the participants presented their investment projects to the competent jury. Based on the results of the presentations and discussions, the jury awarded a victory to Barjan Dusubayev, the chairman of the board of Volkov Geology GSC, who presented a project for the extraction of nickel-cobalt ores. It is necessary to understand that this person has been dealing with this topic for a long time. He's a great professional in terms of downhole underground uranium leaching, since he has been dealing with this topic from the very beginning of its organization in the framework of Kazakhstan. And now he wants to offer this method of extraction of other useful components, including nickel. The idea of competitions on the MINEX site is motivation of market players and presentation to a wide audience new interesting projects. Currently, the search for innovative solutions in the mining sector is not limited to the technologies of the extraction of raw materials. An important component of a successful project is human resources. The capabilities of a Russian company to train specialists on high-precision simulators were presented at the MINEX forum. Such high-tech systems are actively used in the aviation and military industries and were adapted to the mining segment about 15 years ago. Why do a company go through huge losses for some reason? It cannot introduce new technologies. Investment money is set poorly. The personnel base itself is poorly skilled. Accordingly, raising quality human resources and its development is the key to the future success of the company's guarantee of its stability on the market. The most important thing, when you develop your human resources, when you optimize them, they become more professional. And you have, of course, the most important point, the performance is at a very high level of productivity and efficiency while operating equipment. As experts explain, on average the training period of a specialist is about 110 hours. This time is divided into working with real equipment and using simulators. The operation of high-tech simulators allows to reduce the work on real equipment to a minimum. In this case, it is important to give periodic assessment of personnel to confirm professional suitability.
На самом деле мы уже в Казахстане реализовали.
In fact, we have already implemented a project with Kaz Minerals. We supplied to Octogai. We organized an educational training complex for training specialists on open-pit mining equipment. This is a very clear task faced by the company's managers. They had to organize production with the small human resources. It was necessary to attract people from the regions and somehow teach them. The company plans to further develop partnerships with Kazakh companies. Simulators of Russian production are already in operation in other CIS countries and South Africa. Professional interest in the MINEX forum is growing every year. Next year, the 9th Central Asian Forum will be held between the 17th and 19th of April in Astana.